Hey everyone, welcome back. Nvidia has definitely made some questionable products recently, but let's give credit where it's due. The GTX 1060 was 2016's budget offering, promising performance that would match last-gen top-tier cards, and it quickly became a fan favorite. It held the #1 spot in Steam OS survey for years, until recently being taken over by the GTX 1650. 10 series Pascal architecture offers a great range of cards, starting with the entry-level GTX 1050 and topping with the flagship Titan XP. Let's not forget there's also the 1080 Ti, aka the OG OP GPU, that I cannot wait to test. Priced at $249, GTX 1060 struck a great balance for gamers looking to play at 1080p resolution. Equipped with 1280 CUDA cores and relatively high clock speeds, it was available with either 3 or 6 GB of GDDR5 memory over a 192-bit memory bus. With support for DirectX 12 and just 120W TDP, is 1060 the reasonable budget choice of 2023? Let's find out. I got this 6GB MSI GAMING X model for just £100 or about $120, and it came in excellent condition and fully boxed. I decided not to open it to preserve the warranty voiding sticker, since it was still as fresh as the day it was installed. The now iconic dual fan cooler stayed very quiet and kept the card under 65C overall. Starting off with synthetic benchmarks, the 1060 jumped ahead of the RX 570 by around 8% with 4,695 points in 3DMark TimeSpy. We got very similar results in Firestrike Extreme, with the gap narrowing to 7%. And finally, Heaven benchmark with ultra quality and extreme tessellation, so the 1060 well ahead of the RX 570, and it was almost by 30%. When considering the power to score ratio, unsurprisingly, the 1060 comes out on top with 20.6 points for every watt it used. With the MSRP to score ratio, the table turns and the RX 570 takes the top spot with 11 points for every dollar spent from its MSRP. Lastly, we look at the average second-hand value proposition. Despite being affordable, the 1060 still falls short of the RX 570, but not by much. And now for some gaming. Here's 10 seconds of fame in Modern Warfare 2. Not sure how, but I managed to mow down some opponents, which must only be because of the battery smooth 65 FPS on average which I saw with the balanced graphical preset. Thumbs up and a recommended settings to every 1060 owner. Next up was Apex Legends, where the 1060 pushed the averages to nearly 97 FPS, with the moist settings on high, a 4GB VRAM budget, and a 16x AA enabled. Unfortunately, this didn't do much for my ability to dispatch opponents, but it got me thinking that one could up the resolution to 1440p. Keeping up the pace, let's try Battlefield 5 next. Making the most out of the more modern DirectX 12 API and with the high preset, the 1060 presented solid averages of 83 FPS with 1% low sitting at 65. Here's a fun fact. Did you know the RX 570 was marginally faster in this title? The more you know. Many months and patches later, here's the old-gen version of Witcher 3. I could not help but to notice some stuttering, confirmed by the rather jagged frame time graph of the Afterburner. I've decided to use a medium preset with no hairworks, and I saw 71 FPS on average, which, in all fairness, sounds better than it felt. The 1% lows at 31 confirmed my experience was far from smooth. Next up, I tested Cyberpunk 2077 on a medium preset with FSR on quality, and surprisingly, it ran pretty well on the 1060. Of course, the game has come a long way since its release, but to see a budget card like this pushing an average of 50 FPS in such a visually stunning game is pretty nice. Plus, did you see that the MSI card is pushing boost clocks to well over 1900 MHz? That's impressive stuff. Moving on to Far Cry 5, I tried to take over an enemy outpost but kept running out of ammo. You know. The game runs smoothly with the Ultra preset, but I decided not to use the HD textures as it tends to push over the typical 4GB GPU VRAM buffer found on many cards I'm planning on testing. Still, I got an average of 80 FPS with 1% lows at 64, proving this game is greatly optimized. Plus, with the support for multi-GPU setups, I'll be definitely including it in the future videos. Now onto PUBG, which is still one of the Steam's most played games. I decided to see how it runs on the second most popular GPU among Steam users, and it was a brilliant idea. I dialed in ultra settings and I saw average of 74 FPS with 1% low sitting at nearly 55. No complaints here. Sometimes you just need a bit of crazy arcade racing, so I tested out CROSSOUT, which is a couple of years old but still offers impressive visuals and hours of fun. Unfortunately, it's capped at 60 FPS, but even with the Ultra preset, the 1060 was not far off a solid 60. Lastly, I tested CROSSOUT, which is an easy to run game that can be enjoyed on all sorts of hardware. With the 1060, I got an average of 98 FPS using game's maxed out high settings. Seriously guys, give it a try. So, what do we think of the once Steam's hardware survey most popular card? Well, there is a lot to like here. The 1080p performance did not disappoint, and you can often go for eye candy and still see above 60 in modern games. While I might not be the best person to judge this, as I tend to enjoy cards pulling in excess of 500 watts, the 1060 is really efficient. With a single 6-pin power connector, it will run happily even on a low-end power supply. To put things into perspective, the RX 570 is often on par with the 1060 in terms of performance, but it consumes 30 to 40 watts more, and that's a significant difference and should be definitely considered. Second-hand market is booming, and at the right price, the 1060 is a solid choice. Personally, I'd avoid the 3GB model even though it may be cheaper by a third. The GPU market is moving fast, and with prices continuing to drop, newer GPUs are getting dangerously close. I'm looking at you, RX 5600 XT. If you are one of the proud owners of the GTX 1060, I want to hear from you. How much did you pay for it and what model did you get? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you all in the next one.